Hello and welcome back to Sood Sisters. I'm your co-host Nanki.
And I'm Nemat. And together we are the Sood Sisters.
In today's episode, we are going to talk about so many topics that we often hear but don't fully understand. We're going to talk about energy, financial abundance, healing, and much more.
Our guest today, Shweta Chatterjee. She's a spiritual coach who works with energy and subconscious healing. She helps people understand their relationship between abundance and money.
Okay, before we begin the episode, we had to do this, you know? Such fangirl moments. I mean, the first time we spoke, we kept on figuring, yaar, where have we seen her? Where have we seen her? I think आपने ना बहुत latest अपनी वो video pin की है on your Instagram. And when we saw him, we were like on the floor. We were like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
You're like our teenage thing, wo heart wala top. It was every girl's dream, and we were so thick at that time, we couldn't get it.
And there were so many copies of that heart top in the market, but हमें fit नहीं आता था. But that was our dream.
I've never seen a copy on that heart top.
It was everywhere. It was everywhere, but हमें fit नहीं आता था. वो तो हमारे यहाँ पे नहीं चढ़ता. But such fangirls, we told our friends, do you know who are we shooting with today? And they were like, damn. And everybody remembers that heart top.
Yes.
The heart top, yeah, more than anything.
Yes.
No, it was such a time as well. I mean, हम तो हमेशा, that is a teenage jam. We used to just, all the time.
So bunch of welcome to Sood Sisters. Shweta from Zen with Shweta. A very warm welcome. We are so excited to have you on Sood Sisters today. Before we dive deeper and begin to discuss all the topics that we've lined up for today, we'd love to understand something about you and what has been your journey so far that led you into being a spiritual coach.
Nasi, thank you so much. Thank you for this warm welcome. Well, I actually have been all over the place. Okay, nothing in my life has been planned or decided or anything of that sort. And the most amazing thing about my life is that I don't really come from a spiritual background. Like, my family is not that religious. I mean, they're not religious. At least they weren't before. So they were not religious. They were not we were more scientific kind of people. We used to follow, if science says this, then this happens. Otherwise, we don't really fall for it. So coming from that kind of a family into spirituality has been a huge shift. And it happened because, we all, maybe you guys have as well read the book or seen The Secret, right?
Yeah.
So I saw that. So The Secret, and I saw that, and I was intrigued. I was like, what do you mean you can manifest your life? Like, you can have anything that you want to. What do you mean? And I just couldn't figure it out, right? It felt like this is some really crazy stuff and I need to figure it out. And with that intention of wanting to figure out what is manifestation, these paths kind of revealed themselves to me, yoga just happened. Yoga happened when I was moving from India to Abu Dhabi. And I was just thinking, what should I do? Because I want to go there with some skill, with something that I can, work towards. And I don't want to just sit at home and stuff like that. And I just saw this ad, okay? It was on the papers, or I was going through some Facebook stuff and it just appeared or something like that. And I was like, okay, this is happening very close to my house. So let me just go in for it. If I don't really enjoy it, at least I'll learn something. And then when I went into yoga, when I started yoga, I realized that this is like the umbrella, okay? The whole thing. Yoga is like everything. Unfortunately, we just look at yoga as pranayams and asanas and physical, for physical ailments and stuff like that, or physical well-being. That's when we think of yoga. But it is huge. It is everything. Everything actually stems down from yoga. So I have done so many modalities. And in every modality I've done, you get a reference of yoga. This is already mentioned in yoga, and now, we're going to dive deeper and more like kind of a niche, right? Like a particular thing.
Yes.
So for me, life started with yoga, and then one after the other, all with the intention of understanding how to manifest. So with the intention, everything kind of opened up for me, right? So it has been brilliant. It's a brilliant journey, and It's amazing. Whatever has kind of revealed itself to me.
That's amazing. I think the book Secret has been like a turning point in a lot of people's life, that, they have changed the trajectory of a lot of people's life. This book Secret, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's one of those books which made people think. I mean, yeah, we do think of The Secret or manifestation like a magic, but when you really understand it, it's always within us, right? So it kind of opens something more than what we are always taught. We kind of go into more of our creative side, and we try to understand things from a different perspective and not just use our logic for everything. And it actually really, really creates that shift. So yeah, The Secret actually helped a lot of people kind of come out of that shell that we've always been put in, right? Like, you have to live like this, you have to think like this, you have to do this to get this, and so on and so forth. I'm sure, this kind of created a different mindset for everyone. Everyone saw it from a very different perspective again. Yes.
Absolutely. And also, I love the fact where you say that yoga is like an umbrella for everything, especially with Nanki and me, whatever we're on our spiritual journey. And whenever we come up with any interesting concept, we somehow always circle back to our roots. Everything leads us back to our roots, because that's what makes us believe, that there is so much magic. It is just within us. Whatever concept comes up, any interesting fact about spirituality, it will just always lead back to our roots.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, everything is eventually like, okay, spirituality, yes, but everything eventually is, someone somewhere asked 2 questions, and then it led to like a crazy understanding of how we function, what's happening, why are we here, what are we doing, and all of that kind of revealed itself again, right? Yeah. So yoga did that, and when there is revelation, many layers get revealed, because there's not one thing, right? There's like so many things in our lives, and there's so many different layers that we live in. So yeah, really, yoga just helps you to kind of open all those layers up, and then the ones that you find very, very close to you or works well for you, you can just concentrate on that. But eventually, everything is mentioned in yoga.
We've seen you talk on your reels and on your social media that you talk a lot about surrender. What does surrender really mean, and how is it different from just giving up? How would you explain surrender for someone who is just beginning, or very simple to understand, easy terms?
Okay, I think the easiest term to explain is through a story. So I'll just tell you a very brief, small story. Okay, this is something a friend of mine told me. Surrender is, like, where there was this guy. He was a businessman, and his business was thriving. He was doing really well, and he used to believe in Hanumanji. Okay, he was a bhakt of Hanumanji, and he used to believe in him completely, 100%. He's like, no matter what happens in my life, I am going to be helped. Things will be sorted out for me, because Hanumanji is always there. Now, what happened is he had a warehouse or something, and someone purposely burnt his warehouse. Okay, burnt his warehouse, and this man, from being one of the richest guys in his city or his town, was completely erased, because he was like, there is no way, he could come back from there. So one of his rivals burnt his entire warehouse, and his business had just like gone. Okay. Now, this guy was such a believer of Hanumanji. Anyone else would have probably been like, where is he now? How did this happen to me? I believed in you, but you did this to me, blah, blah, blah. He didn't do that. He used to go to the temple every single day. He went again to the temple, and he thanked Hanumanji for everything, right? So he is surrendered to Hanumanji. He is surrendered that, okay, no matter what happens in my life, I know there is a bigger meaning to it, and I know I will be taken care. I know things are going to work out fine. And within, I think, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they realized that the insurance he had for his warehouse was way more than the warehouse, the stuff in the warehouse and the warehouse itself. So he actually got a huge insurance because of that warehouse burning down. And the guy who created this whole thing got caught as well. Like something when the insurance company, they did a investigation and stuff. It came out like, who did this, what happened, and that guy went to jail. So imagine, like, just because he surrendered, because he said, no, I know whatever is happening, things will work out. Things will be sorted out. So this is the surrender I talk about. When you surrender, it means even when bad things happen in your life or a situation arises which is not in your control, you have to be like, there is a plan, there is a divine plan, there is something that's going to happen that was meant to happen or that is going to happen. And you just surrender to the situation and say, it's okay. I am willing to come out of it. I'm willing to understand that the pain and the suffering I'm going through is for my betterment or for my growth. And you kind of move on, or it was part of my karma, but you just surrender to that situation instead of trying to control it. The moment you want everything to be in control, the moment, especially when something negative happens in our lives, and most of the times they're not because we want it, right? Because nobody wants like negative things to happen in our lives. So most of the time it's because of external factors. So it's very difficult to understand why is this happening with me, and I want to do everything to control the situation right now. But when you surrender, things start to unfold and you kind of get a bigger picture of the whole thing. And everything starts to get sorted by itself. And, you move on with time. And so surrender to me is that, like, you surrender to the divine or you surrender to whoever you believe in, knowing that no matter what is happening in my life, whether it's good or bad, I'm taken care of. So that is the surrender which I talk about when I talk about in my reels.
Oh, that's a beautiful story. And is it safe to say that when you say, Shweta, is it safe to say, by the way, that was a beautiful story that, made me believe in my belief a little more stronger, that no matter what happens in life, you always have yourself and your belief to fall back on. So is it safe to say that in the end, it's faith? Faith is what gets us through. Because, in the world, there are a million religions, I'd say, or there's so many beliefs. But in the end, if the faith is strong, that is what gets you out.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, like for me, I believe, and I've always seen that having belief in something, right? Like whether it's your God, whether it's a religion, whether it's maybe like let's say I have to chant a mantra. Okay, a lot of people have said, you chant this mantra 1,000,000 times and you will get the siddhi, or you will be able to just say the name and things will happen in your life, and amazing things, you'll get amazing results from it, your health will improve, blah blah blah. A lot of promises are made, right? So now when we chant the mantra 1,000,000 times, we start believing that the shift is happening because I am chanting this mantra. And then even whether this mantra is working or not, it doesn't matter, because you have started creating a belief that this, so because you have started creating this belief that the mantra is working for me, the mantra is giving me all these siddhis, it's giving me all these powers, and so on and so forth, right? And then you start to see them, you start to materialize them because you had started creating that belief. So belief is a foundation of everything that happens. And that is why working on yourself, your inner work, is the most important thing. Because if you don't believe in yourself, no matter what you do, how many modalities or how many different kriyas and all of that, you do, if you don't have self-belief, then it's going to be very, very difficult to really live an aligned life, or a life where you can absolutely just be, just be like at peace with who you are, with what is happening, and with all these things that you want and that you get and everything. If you don't have that belief in yourself, it's very difficult. But yes, belief is the foundation work you need to have and work on your belief.
Another question that I had regarding this, all of us have so much responsibilities. We have, as Nanki mentioned earlier, you've got bills to pay, you've got a house to run, you've got a career, you've got family to take care of. There's so many responsibilities on everyone. That's a pretty regular life, right? If someone's emotionally stressed, or someone's got too much on their mind from the aspect of all these responsibilities of life, can that person still be considered aligned despite of all the drama that goes around us?
See, when we talk about emotional, situations and phases, and there is sometimes we go through emotional turmoil in life, right? So you have to understand that it's okay. If there is pain, if there's suffering, if something has happened in my house, if something's happening with me, it's okay to take a pause. It does not mean you're not aligned. It means life is happening, because life will keep happening, And it is not about that everything is going to be beautiful and green and wow and amazing all the time. I mean, otherwise, what's the point of being a human, right? We are here to experience duality. If you don't experience the negatives, how do you really cherish and enjoy the positives, right? So
Yeah.
when you go through emotional situations or when you go through even physical ailment, if you hurt yourself, it's okay. Just take that pause, that break, and understand. This is where again surrender comes in, right? Like when there is something that is not working out for you, that is a little heavy on you, you need to surrender to the moment and say, it's okay. I'm going through this tough time right now. There is some message in this. There is something that is, there is a reason why I'm going through this. But I will tell you one thing. When we go through a lot of our emotional, so I will tell you one thing. When we go through a lot of these emotional problems, when we go through a lot of mental issues, physical issues, our mindset is very important. That is one thing you really, really need to work on, right? Your mindset is actually what creates a lot of our emotional problems and pains and, the expectations that we have from people around us, from everything. Like we constantly have expectations, like things have to work like this, things have to happen like this is right, this is wrong, judgments, opinions, all of this. And this is your mindset. So you need to work on your mindset as well. If you really, really want to live a life where you can let go easily, you can surrender easily, you have to work on your mindset. But yeah, whether you're going through emotional pain, whether you have a physical issue, whatever is going on, you can be aligned. As long as when you're going through this pain, you relax, you just take it in, you say, okay, I have pain, right? Like this is where awareness also comes in. So a lot of this work, everything is like I said, in layers. When you have awareness that I went through pain, suffering, I have some emotional needs, I have something I need to work on, you can take that pause and you can work on it. But I always say that when you have emotional issues, because physical is not really in your hands a lot of times, it matters on a lot of other things, especially if you met with an accident, let's say, and you broke in your bones or whatever. There is a time you have to follow and you have to heal and you can't do anything about that. But with emotional, I always feel that people need to give themselves a timeline. That, okay, I am upset, I am in grief, I am in pain, I am going to give myself this much time to feel this completely. And then I am going to work getting out. Because it is only you who can help yourself. The whole world can try and help you. The whole world, like I'm a healer. I guide people on a regular basis. I've healed people continuously for 3-4 years. Okay. I have clients who've been taking healing sessions from me for 3-4 years now. But till the time they don't do the work, healing will only give them temporary result. So eventually you have to do the work for yourself, So you have to decide, okay, I'm going through pain. Now I need to heal. Now I need to move forward. Now I need to go on, like move on with life. So yeah, so aligned doesn't mean you cannot experience and you don't, stay with that pain or suffering that you're going through. That's part of our life and you're still aligned. I mean, that has really nothing to do as long as there is awareness. Yeah, right. Like there is awareness that I am going through the pain. I had that emotional, issue. I am going through. Till the time you know this, you can do something about it.
So I believe that there is so much conditioning that we've been raised up with, that aise hona chahiye, this is how it should be. But there's so much unlearning to do here. As you spoke about the mindset thing, that comes like with a lot of unlearning to do. Correct?
Absolutely. In fact, that is the number one thing we need to work on. Not learn more, we need to unlearn. Yeah, because when we keep learning, when we keep putting in, layers of new things and new understanding, new learning, and you're not clearing all these things that you're holding on to for so many, lifetimes maybe, and so on and so forth, you're never going to reach a point of healing. You're never going to feel whole because you have so much of this dirt down here, like so much of conditioning, like you said, and with a culture that is so many dated back so many centuries and whatever, you cannot not unlearn those things because there is too much that we have to believe in and too much that we have to follow, and this is good, that is so much of judgment and opinion for everything. Yeah, absolutely. Unlearning is the first thing everyone needs to do if you want to heal. Like we say in pranic healing, right? We cleanse the energy first. and then we energize. It's like the explanation is like you have a glass, okay? You have a glass with muddy water, and you keep pouring, let's say you keep pouring clean water in that muddy water. Now, this is totally mud, okay? How much of clean water do you need to pour to get this muddy water out completely? It's going to take a long time. But if I just take that glass, I pour the muddy water out, I keep it back, and I pour it in with clean water, that's what it takes. You clean the mess first, and then you pour in the clean water, or the, so your new beliefs, your intentions, all of that after you unlearn. So absolutely, unlearning is the first step to healing, to changing your mindset, to changing your life.
I think we should start a club, Unlearning 101.
Absolutely.
And I love it, Shweta, the way that you're explaining things. It is so easy to understand, even coming from a beginner's mindset.
Yeah.
So we consider that our listeners are going to benefit so much from this conversation because you're making it very easy to understand with lifelike examples. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for doing that.
Absolutely, yeah. Because if someone watches this and takes even, a little bit away from here, it is going to have a starting point for some impact in their day. Because I started off with, the same in a same way. I started off in, I think, 2012. And I think it was around 2023 when I really started understanding everything was like coming together for me, but it took me that many years and so many modalities, so much of learning, so much of unlearning. And then I had to unlearn all of that. Because till the time you don't unlearn, let me tell you, you will not be able to progress. You will not, because you will, whenever something comes which is a conflict to what you believed in, you will not be able to take that in. So you need to also realize that that's why, in yoga and all these places, right? Yoga and even in Buddhism, there's non-judgment. Don't have judgment. Try it at least, take that moment to experience it at least and then decide. But don't just cancel it because, you have a judgment about certain things.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you said, unlearning is the key. It's the foundation.
Beautiful.
So moving on, Shweta, we believe that we all are entitled to so much abundance, and it is like everybody, all of us are entitled to abundance. So when the term abundance comes in, I don't know, somehow the term financial abundance pops into the mind. I would say that for me, like when you talk about abundance, the first thing that will pop into your head is financial abundance. Now, how does one tap into financial abundance? It's safe to say that we are living in an earthly realm and money is very important to live here, correct? So how does one tap into financial abundance?
Okay, so financial abundance also is energy, right? Your abundance itself is energy, right? So finances, although it's physical, like you see money in a physical form, relate to it in a physical form. What financial abundance, the way you tap into it is by firstly, again, working on your mindset. You have to work on your mindset a lot. You have to action. Okay, if you want something to materialize, like I can have many, many big plans. I can have I will create this small thing and I'll create a candle which is going to make me a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. I have created that. I know that is going to work, everything. But till the time I don't create the candle and I won't sell it out there, I'm not going to make the money, right? So action. So basically, a root chakra is very, 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 very important to make money for financial abundance. And you need to clear and you need to heal and you need to work on your root chakra because that is stability, that is security, right? Money brings you all of this. It brings you stability, it brings you security, right? In our lives now, because that is the foundation, that is the base. Now, when you work on your root chakra and when you start clearing a lot of your, let's say, karmic debts or whatever you had, a lot of belief system again you had about money, that all of that will go once you start clearing your root chakra. So if you want to attract financial abundance from a spiritual perspective or from a healer perspective, I would work on the root chakra. I would start clearing a lot of my, a lot of my stagnant energy where I'm constantly working in fear. And a lot of people, they live bill to bill, and that is when your root chakra, you're living in fear. because root chakra is also fear. It has a very deep, because it is about your survival. The root chakra is your survival, right? So there is a lot of fear. And if you live from a fear mindset again, then you are not going to be able to do big things in life. It's going to be even when you make a lot of money, you will end up saving all of it and not do anything with it, because you will always have the fear of losing it again. So I would start with mindset and with root chakra to start attracting financial abundance. That would be my go-to as a healer, my something that I would start working with.
In your experience, Shweta, you work with so many clients. Do you think that once you have a safety net to fall upon, I mean, once you think that you're secure in life, that's only when you can work on your inner beliefs or inner, these limiting belief systems to clear this energy? Have you experienced something like this?
Yes, absolutely. That is the foundation. Like I said, your security is your base. Now imagine you have no money, okay, and you have a lot of love to give, okay, and now someone in your family falls sick and you have to take them to the hospital and your bill is 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, whatever the amount is, and you don't have money. Now, how are you going to save that person? How are you going to, you cannot live in comfort. You cannot live in peace if your foundation, your base is not protected. So your money, you have to be stable in your income for sure, because when you have money, you start feeling secure, you start feeling stable, you can do things for your family, you can take care of your health, because everything needs money. There is nothing that is, there are a lot of things for free and all of that, but when you live in a family, there are wants, there are needs, and all of this somewhere there needs to be fulfilled with money, right? So absolutely, you have to be very, 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 very stable in order to feel that security. You have your foundation in place, and so that then you can start working on other areas of your life. Now, if you have money issue, if you don't know whether you will have money to pay for, let's say, your electricity bill next month, are you going to be able to sit and meditate? Your mind is just going to be like, where am I going to get the money from to pay, for food? Like, I need to provide for my kids' school fees. If you're going to worry about these things, how can you ever progress in any other area of your life? Yeah. So financial abundance is absolutely the base. It is something that everybody should work on. And please never ever feel guilty for wanting good finances. I mean, I don't understand why there is a guilt factor. Even with spirituality, there is so much of this, spiritual people should not ask for money. I mean, I don't know where this mindset came from, but it is an absolutely... So I would never ever support this kind of statements. Financial income or financial stability, abundance is absolutely important for a secure life, for a peaceful life. And I would say that's the first thing one needs to start working on in order to arrange other areas of their life.
Fantastic. I mean, amazing that you mentioned all these things. This question pops in my mind so many times that, as you mentioned, that until you don't have your finances, you will not sit down for meditation. I mean, I have bills to pay. I will not go and sit down to meditate. How does one overcome all these things? As you said, living life with alignment, living life with body, mind, soul alignment. How does one get to that point when you can start focusing on other areas of life? You start working for yourself. I mean, when you sit down, you meditate for yourself. You don't meditate for someone else. You are doing it for yourself. But how do you reach that point?
So that point obviously comes with mindset again. I would say this again and again. You need to work on your mindset. I'm telling you, the mind is such a mystery, okay? The mind is literally everything. Everything that we experience, everything that we are here for, it's the tool that has been given to us to create whatever it is that we want to. So you have to work on your mindset. You have to work on your mind. You have to cleanse your thoughts. Mostly personally, it will be your thoughts that will transform into emotions. And then you start manifesting that in your life, right? And then sometimes emotions create thoughts, because you feel bad about something, you start creating many, many negative thoughts, blah, 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 blah. Now, what happens with mindset is when you start having a negative thought, when you have a thought pattern that is very, repetitive, like if you're someone who always feels, oh, I don't deserve, let's say, money, or you've not seen a lot of money in your life, so you always feel like, oh, it's going to be so difficult for me to make money. You will not be able to make money easily. because your mindset is that. So you need to clear these thought forms. You need to clear these emotions about money. So these are the things that one has to do in order to start, like you said, like to live an aligned life. You have to work on your mindset. And healing the mind is something that is so necessary. Otherwise, you will really not see that shift.
That was interesting. I think that's probably the basic foundation for everyone to fall back on. You've got to fix your mind if you need financial abundance.
Yeah.
Also, coming to the point of financial abundance, and we talk about removing all the mental blocks and all our negative beliefs in order to attract that abundance. You think while we are working on these blocks, are we ignoring any real life challenges when we do this? Real life challenges, for example, someone is wanting like a particular job, but they're not really qualified to get that job. Or someone wants to start up a new business, but they don't really have the resources for that business. In that kind of challenge, where does our mindset work? And how would you attract abundance in that case?
See, mindset is again, yes, the key here. Okay. It is not that they are not going to be able to get what they want, but there are many layers to the mind, right? There are many layers. Now, when the logical mind, when an information comes to the logical mind, and you tell me, let's say I see an offer and I'm like, okay, I want to do this work, but I'm not eligible for it. Okay. And I see this work and I'm like, okay, I'm going to manifest and I'm going to get this work. And I start manifesting. Okay. Now the logical mind already knows that this is not going to happen because you are not qualified. So even though you're manifesting and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to get it, you're not going to get it because there is a critical mind as well that is not going to let this information go to your subconscious, because the subconscious mind manifests, right? It's not going to go to your subconscious mind. It's going to reject. So no matter how much you keep saying the same thing again and again, I'm going to manifest, I'm going to get that job, I'm going to get the job, it's not going to accept. So there are ways, there are techniques of clearing the mindset, because I'm a hypnotherapist. So we have ways where we can kind of tap into the subconscious mind, change that, rewire your subconscious mind so that you can start manifesting from a space of alignment. However, having said that, if you are someone who is, let's say, not qualified for a certain job, or if you want to start a business, but you're not like ready, like let's say today, if I say I'm going to make 1 billion by the end of this year, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, there is no way I can see, within my reach that I'll be making that kind of money. But if I say this and I keep like manifesting it in my own way, then you're kind of creating a lot of this unnecessary resistance to your manifestation. Mm-hmm. Your goals have to be in a way where the logical mind also kind of accepts it slowly but steadily. It allows you to be a little more, aligned. Because like for me, let's say, even if I'm someone who understands how to do a healing, how to heal my subconscious mind, how to attract, how to manifest, there are so many times that I would have to still do the work to get the result. If I tell you that, okay, my next session, I will have 100 clients who are going to sign up, I will still have to make those 20 reels and I will still have to post it. I still have to do my ads. I'm still spending on those things. So just to think that I will make the money is never going to happen. You also have to action it. You have to action it. So people who are manifesting from this kind of mindset that I will ask for this and I will get it, it doesn't work that way, because there are hundreds and billions of people who are also manifesting the same way. So what cuts, what makes you different? You have to have the experience. You have to have the work. You have to do the work. You can't just, like I said, that's the whole alignment process, right? Like to physicalize something, if you don't make an action, and if I keep thinking about it, it's not going to happen. I might have the best business idea, but if I'm not going to action it, if I'm not going to create that product and sell it out there, how is it going to manifest? How is it going to give me that $1 billion or whatever? So every layer is important. You can't bypass it just by saying, I will just sit and manifest, I will just go into my subconscious, and I will, even if opportunities come, they will not materialize. Opportunities will come, things will, your energy, is like, whoa, I can, like the moment someone sees you, they're like, this person is, there has so much of energy and looks like this rich person, blah, 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 blah. but they are not doing the work. So it's not going to materialize. Until it doesn't materialize in the human world, what's the point of having so much of energy and so much of panic?
That is a very practical advice.
Yeah, I mean, you need to be realistic at some point, right? I mean, also you need to put in some work. You can't just sit at home and imagine, oh, I'm going to have $1 billion, as you said, by the end of the year. You need to put in some work in order for your manifestations to actually manifest, right?
Yeah, and even manifesting itself is a work, you know. A lot of people will do it one day and they will expect things to happen. It doesn't work that way. I mean, I know of people who are teaching manifestation, but they still do it every single day. It's not something that you just think and you have it. It's not, that's not, you have an act like a yogi, let's say a yogi who is who wants to meditate, who wants to get samadhi, whatever. They will still be meditating every single day of their life. Even if they are calm, their mind is at peace and whatever it is, they will still do the work every single day. Even though they can manifest things, you know, in a snap of a finger, they're still doing the work every single day. So if you are a human, you are here to experience all of this. You have to do the work, you have to enjoy, you have to surrender, you have to just be. And there are, I mean, it's not as complicated as we make it sound, but you can't kind of bypass the entire process by thinking, you know, I'll just bypass the entire process and I'll just reach some.
And I eat it somehow.
I mean, if you want money to spend, then you have to do the work to make the money. But yeah, like to have a mindset, you know, like a lot of us, especially for healers and all, we have this mindset that, oh, I cannot charge this much and I should not be doing that. And I should not, you know, if I make a lot of money, then I have to donate all my I mean, there's a lot of this mindset about money with healers and spiritual seekers and intuitive workers and stuff, right? Like they constantly have this guilt around money somehow. Like making a lot of, if I'm charging my client this much money, it's, you know, am I doing the right thing? Is it ethical? So on and so forth. So there, see, your mindset works. So even if you're maybe supposed to make a lot of money, you are blocking your mindset. You are making these thought forms. Again, these need to be cleared, right? So that you can really manifest what you want. I mean, a lot of inner work goes on. I have to meditate every single day. I have to take care of the food I eat. I have to exercise. I have to do a lot of work to do a healing. So yeah, it's not just sitting there and, you know, okay, okay, done.
There you go, say some mantras.
Yeah, but the process itself, we spend lakhs. Yeah, I mean, it's not like we are like, you know, just healing out of energy. You take this and you're done. I mean, it doesn't work that way. So when we have to charge and people think we should not charge, or even healers who think we should not charge and they feel guilty about charging, we really need to think. I mean, we do a lot of work to give you result. You know, so this kind of mindset, like you work around these things. You're doing the action, you're doing the work, but still you're not seeing money. This is because you need to now kind of shift your mindset, the charging. A lot of people can't ask for what they deserve, you know, like you go for a job interview and what are you expecting? Anything you give. I mean, so you need to change that mindset and then you manifest. That works beautifully. That is when it's an aligned manifestation because you're doing the work, you deserve it, and then you will get even more than what you think you deserve because he's done it.
And thank you for bringing that up. I think not many people say it out loud. This needs to be called out loud.
Absolutely.
If you're putting in the work, you deserve a fair charge for it. Just how, you know, in spirituality world, we consider energy as a currency. In this human world, money is the currency and we need that, right? So there has to be a fair trade for everything. Even if you're giving out healing, there has to be something in return for that, for it to be balanced out. I am a cake artist by profession and there's been years of experience which has led me to where I am today. And that's why I have a certain charge for that. Now for someone, if that doesn't work out, even if I'm losing out a client because of the amount of, charge that I've put on it, it has taken a while for me to accept that fact that if I bring myself down to that point where I'm making the other person more comfortable, then I'm not respecting myself in that way. So I think that is one mindset. It does take a while for you to really stand up for yourself and your own, I'd say, qualities or your own experience.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. And again, need to work on that, and that helps you to get alignment as well. So yeah, mindset.
So, Shweta, you mentioned that you offer so many modalities. You offer modalities like hypnotherapy and NLP. I'm just curious to know, what are these terms and what do these modalities do, and how can someone benefit from, taking these sessions with you? Or we would love to know that.
So hypnotherapy, like I said, it's all about the mind. Okay. And in fact, when I learned hypnotherapy, it kind of changed my entire perspective about how I used to see things. And this is when my unlearning happened, because it was very difficult for me to kind of accept hypnotherapy as the way it was presented, because I was like, how can everything be the mind? I mean, what? I'm doing so much work, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, all my spiritual experiences for 4-5 years now, you're telling me that, it's all in the mind and it's all created with the mind, blah, blah, blah. Now, when I started learning hypnotherapy, you realize that everything is happening because of your subconscious and your unconscious mind, right? That everything that's happening on a very subtle way is happening because of your subconscious and your unconscious mind. And what hypnotherapy does is there are techniques to reach your subconscious mind, rewire it, reprogram it, and shift your belief system, or shift your energy completely, or shift you as a person. So if someone, let's say, has fear of even swimming, I'm just giving a very basic example, fear of swimming, 35 years old, 40 years old, I cannot go. The first time I tried to swim, I almost drowned, so I can never go in water again. Hypnotherapy, 2-3 sessions is going to allow that person to start swimming, is going to allow that person to completely recover from that fear and actually go in and start doing the work. Like they will go and learn how to swim. So it is in every area of our lives. Every area of our lives, we can work with hypnotherapy. NLP is more of a tool where you find your kind of mental way to get confidence, to get things done, to be more actionable, to be able to, again, not really in a hypnosis way, but you will really know like what works, how can I help someone else as well, right? So NLP helps you to get answers to these things. Like how can I, if I meet you, like your mindset, let's say, if I have to change your mindset, then NLP is amazing because I can do techniques and stuff, which again taps into your subconscious mind and it rewires it. So this is how both the modalities, they basically get into your subconscious, they get into your unconscious, and they heal you from there. So there are techniques that we do, there is a process that we do which allows us to tap into your subconscious and then heal.
That was very interesting. I have another question for this. For someone who has just heard the word hypnotherapy and they feel like they want to opt for it, would it be possible for you to maybe just give a general idea what the process of hypnotherapy looks like, without obviously giving away your techniques, but just like a general idea so that it doesn't seem so intimidating for anyone who's signing up for it? How would you explain hypnotherapy and what does a particular session look like?
Okay, so hypnotherapy is, let's say, when we do meditation, okay? Meditation is when we go into that silence, we go into that absolute relaxation, right? So hypnotherapy, we take you to that so you become suggestible. The difference between meditation and hypnosis is you become suggestible. Meditation doesn't allow you to be suggestible. So I cannot like reprogram or rewire your thoughts when you're in meditation because you're in full control, you have full awareness. In hypnosis, you go into a very deep sleep. Actually, not deep sleep, you go into deep trance. Okay, you go into very deep trance. But remember, with hypnosis and with NLP, any modality, nobody can make you do something you don't want to do. Nobody can change something you don't want to change. Right? So there is nothing to fear about. It is not something that, people can't just put a thought in your mind and just change your.
Like how we used to see in the movies, they've put you into hypnosis and they'll snap a finger and then they'll make you do things. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work that way unless you are okay to do it, right? So if you want something, and firstly, the therapy that we do hypnotherapy. We are not doing the stage hypnosis, okay? The one for fun and all. We don't do that. We just take you into deep trance, and when you're in trance, you are in theta wavelength. Right? When you are in a theta wavelength, you start to, you can rewire one's subconscious mind, because theta level is when your subconscious mind is activated. So through our technique, we take you to theta level, and then we rewire your thought forms, your emotions, your even sometimes, like a lot of times what happens is maybe as a child, someone scolded you when you try to do something. Okay, you try to do something, you were really creative, and someone said, why did you touch this? Why did you touch this water? Look at what you've done, blah, blah, blah. And then you have now, you cannot try anything in life. You don't want to try anything in life because you feel that trauma when you were a child has now made you someone who is not able to do anything creatively, not able to try anything new because, you feel like it's wrong, or I'll be scolded for it, or, I will get punishment for it. I cannot do it. But the subconscious was rewired when you were a child. So this was like an inner child thing, right? Now hypnosis, I can tap into this. I can take you to that state. When did this happen? When did this thought form happen? You will even say it to me, you will tell me like, okay, this is what happened, and in trance. So you are in complete awareness. Trance is you're in complete awareness. You will tell me what happened, and then I will change that story. I will show you that, that was just done. So your family was protecting you. Your mother was protecting you. It was cold at that time. You would have fallen sick. And then when you come back, you are a completely healed person.
Wow. So your brain is storing all these memories, even if you don't remember it. I mean, like, we as you mentioned, your childhood memories. We don't remember all our childhood memories, but for instance, you're taking someone back to the childhood. So our brain is subconsciously storing everything, and you can just tap into that.
Everything. It might not be the same story as what happened, okay? So your memory might have stored it in a different way. Maybe something else happened. But your memory stored it in this way because that is how it perceived it.
Oh.
Right? So, like, let's say, for instance, this child issue again, like, let's say this kid was playing and there were many things happening at that point of time. There were many things happening, that it was cold. It was, this person, the mother is maybe taking care of 10 other things. And it is risky. Wherever this child was sitting was very dangerous, might have just fallen off and hurt himself or herself. So many things are happening. But the mind only chose to take that much in the subconscious that I was scolded for trying something new.
Oh.
So the mind will only store what it perceived. It will not store the entire story.
Yeah. Wow.
Now what it means? So we tap into that, and your subconscious mind. So when we are tapping into it, your subconscious mind might not tell us the entire story, but will tell us what really affected you, the main thing, and then we heal that. So this is what happens in your hypnotherapy. It's very, very beautiful. I have shifted mindsets of people in one session, and they call me and they tell me, I can't believe it that this is happening in my life right now.
Wow.
So it's a very, very transformative, if you want to call it morality or therapy, but it is very transformative.
We need to book a session with you, Sweta, ASAP.
Absolutely.
And thank you for explaining it so beautifully. And it did not seem intimidating at all, especially when you said that you're fully aware of what is happening. I think that is one misconception that has been fed to us through the media. That
The movies,
that
that
is
is snap control and you'll be
doing crazy things. But it does sound so beautiful and healing the way that you've explained.
I think that's because of the stage hypnosis and all of that, people immediately think, oh my God, she's going to make me into a chicken. She's going to make me do some crazy dance. She's going to take all my money away. I don't know what people...
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
That is so good to know. And coming to your modalities, we've also heard you talk a lot about theta healing. What exactly is theta healing, and how is it different from the other forms of healing that you offer?
So theta healing, like I said, right? Like even for hypnosis, you need to be in theta state, right? To shift that subconscious mind, to shift the belief. So theta healing takes you to that level again, to your subconscious mind, and it heals. Theta healing focuses on energy as well, right? So you focus on your chakra cleansing, you focus on grounding, you focus on a lot of these. We follow the entire thing of every other healing modality, like the colors, we heal with mantras and all of that. And then we take you to a your subconscious level, and we heal you with you being there.
Okay.
So in the healing, I'm taking you through the entire journey so you can see the whole healing. You can ask for what you want. You can see that shift for yourself. Now, when I do, let's say, Reiki healing or pranic healing, you just have to surrender to the healing. You have to sit there and I will heal you. Okay. But in Theta healing, I can take you with me to the healing, to the journey, and then you can experience the healing for yourself as well. Like you will be part of it if you want to. If you just want to relax and just surrender, and you don't really want to see much or ask for much, and you just want the healer to do it, that's fine. But if you want to be part of the healing, then you can do that as well. But again, Theta healing works on your subconscious level, your energy levels. It's a very, very, very strong healing, very, very deep healing, and it's one of my favorite healing modalities.
That just gave me chills while you were explaining it. When you said I can take you with me, I just felt very fancy to be a part of the subconscious mind.
As I said, we need to book a session, ASAP.
Yeah, Theta healing is amazing. It is also almost like a hypnosis session, Theta healing. So if you do Theta healing, it's as good as doing a hypnotherapy session. And it's amazing. Yeah, all amazing.
Okay, so Shweta, at the starting of the episode, you were talking a lot about chakras. So I have a question here that yoga, chakra healing, it's all ancient Indian knowledge. But somehow we are so unaware about it. And the West, has picked up all this and popularized it. And they do so much like chakra healing and all that. Why do you think there is a gap? I mean, if I talk about myself, even I don't know about it. But it is like an ancient source of knowledge that has always been there. Why do you think there is such a huge gap?
The thing is that the chakra system or yoga was a very hush-hush thing, okay? It was not for everyone. Why? Because you can misuse energy, right? You can misuse your, let's say, hypnotherapy. If I want to change people's minds, if I want to change my mindset, forget about people. I go into self-hypnosis and I change my mindset, but I don't feel guilty about certain things that I do, which is the normal conscience, right? It's a normal conscience to, let's say, not cheating. But I can kind of rewire my thoughts and, go around, okay, now I'm going to just, the moment I speak to someone, they will be ready to pay me this amount of money and whatever my work is, blah, blah, blah. So you can really, really manipulate people if this science or this technique doesn't go in the hands of the right people. Now with yoga, it was a very hush-hush thing because there was a lot of discipline, and the ability to manifest was so profound. The moment you're aligned, the moment your energy work is done, your chakras are open. Like we talk about Kundalini, right? Kundalini, when you have Kundalini, when your chakras are open, when you have Kundalini awakening, you can manifest anything in the world. Now imagine this technique falling into the hands of wrong people who don't have the right intention, the people who have the intention of rooting you and just wanting to benefit for yourself. So that is why yoga in India, we were not taught these things, or these things were not openly spoken about. Also, what happens, you have to realize this, that even if you're a good person and when you have these techniques, then you cannot be controlled by others. Now we are in a place, we are in a world where people want power. People in power don't want people to have opinions, don't want people to have a life of their own, have in abundance in every area. They want slaves. They want people, dignified or whatever, slaves. They want us to do whatever they want us to do, but not have a mind of our own. So even when these things could have been introduced to people and been taught in a more ethical way, it was decided not to because it gave people power. And we all are, not only we deserve to have the power, but we are all equally, we are supposed to have the power. It is for all of us. We are all co-creators. Nobody is above anyone else. And this is where the thought of oneness comes in, right? Like when you realize that you and I are the same, we can have the same thing. It's just that we have different mindsets. And so we attract different things in our life. We are living a different life. But everyone can have the same kind of bliss, happiness if they are given the right information, the right tools, the right, all of that. So that's why yoga was one, eight, not to be misused by the wrong people. Okay. And then also it came to a point where, like in Europe, there were these bitches, and any healers were identified as bitches and they were killed and blah, 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 because they had power. The only thing is that they had power. They could get things done their way. They could have things done their way. They were not fearful of others. They knew what the entire world is about, what their purpose is about, and that was a threat to people who want to control us. So that is actually the main reason why all these things are very hush hush. And today, again, like, we are at a time when we learn these things. We learn to open our chakras. We do the Kundalini work. But not all of us get teachers. Guru ka matlab kya hai? Guru is someone who takes you out of darkness. Who brings you to light. Nowadays, there are no gurus who are putting you more into darkness. Yeah. Fear, do this, or that will happen, do this, or that. All of this is, the reason why just doing this work is not enough. You need the right guidance. You need the right guide you through this entire journey. And that is why yoga has always been hushed, because like I said, if it comes in the hands of the wrong people, they can really misuse the power.
But as you said, there is a shift in the situation. There's a shift in maybe the consciousness. There's a shift in the awareness. And there is not much of the gatekeeping now, and the knowledge is more available. What do you think shifted? Like, why is this knowledge out there more?
So, we talk about the yugas, right? Like the Satya Yoga and the Kali Yoga and all that, right? And then the Dwarka, and I'm not very good with the names of the yugas, but the 4 yugas. Right? So now what happened is, when we were coming down to Kali Yoga, then all information that was just naturally available to us, we stopped seeing them. We stopped experiencing them, because we started being more about the mind. We started to identify with our body, with our, experiences, with whatever is physical. We started to live with that more. Now, the moment you forget that you're a soul, the moment you forget that you are here to just experience everything, this duality, and enjoy this, and be happy about it, and you can make whatever you want to make in your life. So, we came down to that level, and now from Kali Yuga, we are going back up to Satyug. Now, because of that transition, now things have started to again reveal itself to us, So we are going up the circle now, and now we are able to kind of feel everything. We are able to see everything. We are able to. Suddenly, a lot of people want to be healers, spiritual seekers, and this and that, and we don't feel like this is rubbish anymore. Like for my parents, when I started healing, they were like, "What is she doing?" I mean, and then it was very funny, because I learned I learned pranic healing. There was a body sculpting kind of modality. There was a something they teach about body sculpting. So I made my mother's waist go 6 inches lesser. 6 inches. My dad got shocked, because he physically saw it. Wow. First he measured her, and then I did this distantly. I didn't do it sitting in front of her. I did it I was in Abu Dhabi and she was in Pune, and I did it distantly, and 6 inches lost.
We need to do that too.
They were like, "Oh my God, this actually works, and what is this? How did this happen?" And so that generation also, for them to accept these things is very difficult. But for our generation, luckily, we have now started accepting. We are doing a lot of inner work. A lot of people are surrendering to these, let's say, concepts, that you want to call it, or reality, or truth, whatever you want to call it. But it's amazing.
It's a beautiful time to be in.
I know.
That is considered woo-woo, right? Back then, I think when you started, 2012, I'd say, we were still getting warmed up to the idea of something beyond our own physical life, right? But today's world is such a beautiful time to be in, and we are so excited to be a part of this. As we say, how you're saying we are rising towards Satya, the world would call it like a global awakening or a global consciousness. It's such a good time to be in, right?
Yeah, and it's crazy that we were also skeptics, like skeptic turned believers, because once we saw this side of life, you couldn't unsee it. Like, there was no way we could go back from seeing, okay, we are a soul, we are on a soul's journey. I mean, there was again so much unlearning to do. And once we unlearned so much, then there was no going back from that.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why being open-minded is very important. When you want to really shift your life, change your life, come with an open mind. Try whatever is given to you, but with an open mind, and of course with some level of also, what is that word? Like when you like with discretion. You can't just be open-minded and think everything in it. That is also like stupidity, right? You have to have your self-discretion, and you have to see what is working, what is not, and always remember that we are all one. We are part of the same thing. You cannot succeed without bringing everyone up with you. If you're thinking it's just me and I don't care about others, that doesn't work. You will always then find yourself stuck somewhere. So yeah, it's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful time, and everybody is working together and working for everyone.
As you said, discretion, it is so important, because there's so much information and misinformation out there. Just take what resonates and just leave what doesn't, vibe with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That is another thing that I completely believe in, especially with social media today. Your life is absolutely about the information you decide to take in. So be very, very, very wise about the the informations that you plan to take, and be very, very clear about creating boundaries with people also around you. When they suck your energy out, or when they're always talking about negative things, when they're always talking about things that, you don't want to be part of that information. Step out, and you will only change your life then. If you're going to be part of that, because information is everything. Once it goes in your mind, it will manifest.
That is such a good lesson for our listeners too. You can't just, doom scrolling is like a new pandemic that is happening.
Yeah.
You need to draw certain boundaries. You've got to come back to yourself and realize that we are in this physical world. And coming back to chakras, we were discussing chakras. How do chakras influence our daily life in the terms of maybe confidence, safety, money? How does it work in everyday life? And could you explain it in like simple, easy to understand terms?
Yeah, like I said in the beginning, every chakra kind of represents certain energy, right? So your root chakra has the energy of stability. It's your finances. So physically. So there are layers to every chakra. So your root chakra has a physical layer. So your physical layer is your blood and your overall health, like your vitality, right? So that's your root chakra. It is your stability. It is your finances. It is your grounding energy. You feel grounded to Mother Earth. You feel like you're living your life. You take actions. When you're grounded, you take actions. So that is your root chakra. Now, when it comes to sacral chakra, that is your emotions. Okay, it's for your emotional balance. It's your lower creativity. Now, let's say having a child is you're creating. When you create a baby, you're creating. So your sacral chakra is effective here. So if you're having issues with conceiving, if you have certain issues like that, men prostate and stuff like that, right? Like if they have prostate issues and all. So when your sacral chakra, that is the physical aspect. It is also your desire. Sacral chakra is where we create our desires. So, if you talk about money, if you talk about your house, a big car, so in this matter, your sacral chakra needs to be very, very healthy in order to manifest these things easily. When it comes to your solar plexus, it's your mental clarity. So mentally, you have your solar plexus, your willpower. Solar plexus is your eyes. It's responsible for your eyes. It's responsible for a lot of your digestive organs. It is responsible for, like I said, courage and power and so on and so forth. So basically, your root, your sacral, and your solar is your roti, kapda, makan. Okay, these three. When you want to live in a physical world and you want to live in a happy physical world, you want the house, you want the money, you want a good relationship, you want a good family, blah blah blah. Then your root, sacral, and your solar has to be balanced. Okay, and then your heart chakra is your energy. Heart chakra is energy. Heart chakra is meeting with more people, being able to serve more people. When you want to serve more people, your heart chakra needs to be open. Of course, again, it's your physical heart, it's your your hands are your heart, and so that's why we bless a lot like this because it comes from the heart. So it's energy. Again, energy healing happens with the heart because heart represents energy level. Okay, right? You breathe in and breathe out. So it takes, so your heart chakra is also providing you with that energy for healing. And so for a healer, you really need to work on your heart chakra. And also just, in today's time, when you really want to receive, if you're giving and you want to receive, you need to open your heart chakra because that is when also receive abundance. Okay, so heart chakra is also abundance. And then your throat. So every chakra represents, like your throat is your, your expression, self-expression. It's your spiritual chakra. Once your throat chakra opens, you start connecting with spirituality. So if you want to become a spiritual seeker, if you want spiritual knowledge, you have to work on your throat chakra. And it's connected with your thyroid gland. It's like I said, the faculty is spiritual faculty. And then you express yourself. When you let's say chant a mantra, or when you want something in life, and when your throat chakra is activated, the moment you say it, it materializes.
Wow.
So you have to be very mindful of what you say also, because when your throat chakra is open, you can also say something negative, and that will work. That is why all chakras are important, you see, because when your heart chakra is open, you're you're compassionate, you are forgiving, you're all of that, right? So then automatically your throat chakra will use it in the right way. You will say the right things. So having this chakra alignment is extremely important, working on all areas of your life, of how you speak, how you feel, how you think. And trust me, it is not difficult. It is not that, I don't get angry. It's not that I don't have let's say, argument with someone. I don't get upset. I feel all of those things, but I don't stay in that energy for more than a few minutes. Yeah, this is the only difference. I because you live with that awareness, when I feel like, okay, I was wrong in what I did, I can apologize without feeling that ego, So when you do a lot of inner work, these are the shifts that happen. It's not that you don't feel these things, because then once again, like, what's the point of being a human if I'm not going to feel and experience the duality? I don't want to be a showcase. I want to live, and it's going to be part of, I'm going to meet people who are going to make me feel, whatever different things.
Yeah. And we're human.
Yeah. And Agnya and your crown chakra is more on the higher spiritual level. So when you work on your Agnya chakra, like I said, you can surrender to the divine. You can work on your higher willpower. Like, to be able to surrender at all times, you need a very, very high level of will. But like a bad thing happens and you fall flat, then your Agnya is not activated. But when even the worst thing happens and you are able to take it, you're able to still surrender to the divine, that is when your Agnya is activated. Okay, and then it is the master chakra. So it actually manages all the other chakras, Agnya chakra. So that's why it's like the one chakra you have to work on. If you don't work on any other chakra, work on Agnya. But again, it creates a lot of ego and stuff like that. So, you need to find a balance. It's always good to work on all your chakras and not just focus on one.
It's so beautiful that all the answers, they lie within. Like, as you mentioned, that if you align one thing, like align a chakra, you can, solve so many things in your life, right? So my question here is, Shweta, like, how can someone bring a little bit of chakra awareness into one's daily life and, live an aligned life? As you mentioned, maybe aligning your crown chakra or something like that. What is that simple practice that you can just suggest all of us to, follow in order to live in alignment?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, a lot of the qualities of the chakras, right? So if you just sit down for like 5 minutes a day, focus on each one of your chakras and just think about the qualities of those chakras, the plus points of those chakras, and if you go on Google or if you go on these AI chat GPTs and all of those now, you can find out a little more details about the chakras or the colors and stuff like that, right? So you can just kind of visualize the chakras and just remember the qualities, and they will start, because see, when you think positively, your mind is everything. Your mind is creating your reality or manifesting through your mind. So when you sit and you focus on your chakras and you think of all the good qualities the chakra brings you, you're going to start attracting that in your life. So just give 5 minutes, sit, focus on your root. Okay, I'm stable, I'm secure, I have financial abundance. Then you go to the next and you know, whatever sacral chakra represents, you say that. So just take that time. It won't even take you 5 minutes, trust me. I think it'll like be done in 3 minutes.
Wow.
But that's a great exercise you can do.
Wow, and there's so much information. Thank you so much for bringing so much information.
Thank you.
Wow, that was so insightful, Shweta. I mean, like goosebumps. All that information, like amazing. Such simple practices, but such helpful practices. So, before we conclude today's episode, there is something I would like to lightly touch on. You are also a tarot card reader. So, I would like to ask you, what is your perspective about tarot? I mean, how do you view tarot? Is it intuitive? Is it predictions? Is it a reflection? What is your idea? What is your ideology about tarot cards?
So tarot actually again taps into your subconscious and gives you answers based on that. So I would say tarot is anything you want it to be. There is no right or wrong in anything, honestly. And so if my question is about a prediction, tarot can answer that as well. But the reason why we say don't follow too much on prediction is because the moment your energy shifts, your answer will change, right? Like now, if I'm sitting and I'm depressed and I'm like, just please see what is going to happen to my work, the tarot is going to take my energy, current energy, and say, you're going to fail. It's not going to happen. But the moment this happens and I'm like, oh no, nothing, it's not going to happen. I'm not going to try that anymore. But I change my energy because now I'm not depressed anymore. I'm doing something. And if you do a reading, then the answer will change. So you see, prediction, what happens is sometimes it creates a blockage if it's negative, right? Okay. So better not to go into prediction, better to ask for guidance, right? Like intuitive work, guidance, if you want to understand certain karmic lessons and stuff like that. So it's easier to, not easier, but it is better if the questions are right. If the focus is more on the positive aspects and not focus on should I do this, should I not? Because the moment the answer is no, you might start thinking that this is not for me and stop completely. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we have free will. We are humans. We have free will. We should not let anything in the world decide that this is not for us. But the questions matter. The questions matter. The way a tarot reader reads your deck, or sorry, not your deck, but your life and whatever questions you bring into the session, the way the tarot reader takes you through matters a lot. So the leader is also extremely important. But it's all of what you mentioned.
Wow. And Shweta, if time permits, we would love it if you could do a tarot reading for our listeners, like a collective tarot reading for 2026. Okay, so as promised, I'm doing the 2026 reading for you guys, the viewers of this show. And the first card is, the Wheel of Fortune. Second is Four of Cups. And finally, we have amazing, the Emperor. Okay, so as you can see, you're going to start off with learning something new, or you're trying to create something new. And so you will be doing a lot of research work. You will be putting in a lot of effort in trying to understand things deeper. And that is going to cause some kind of confusion for you. So emotionally, you might be a little confused about whether you're doing things right. Am I going to get any results out of it? So there will be that confusion. But as you can see, finally, you will be in the energy of the Emperor, which means you're going to be a super successful person in whatever it is that you're doing. All you have to do is maintain discipline, structure, and consistency. So remember these three magic words, okay? Consistency, structure, and discipline, and you will have a super successful 2026. All the best.
Yeah, okay, that'll be great. But I will shift to my table and I'm going to open my deck and do it, okay? So I will do it for you guys. I will.
Thank you. That is so beautiful. And before we close today's session, there is one question that we ask all our guests. What, according to you, is purpose? Everyone seems to be chasing purpose in life. What is purpose for you?
Purpose for me as a human, there is not one, okay? Life is impermanent. Everything in life is impermanent. Everything is always moving, always changing, right? So for me, my purpose keeps changing each day. Okay, but we have many purposes. My purpose would be to be a great mother, to be a great daughter, to be a great wife, to be a great healer, to be a great spiritual coach, to be able to help people as much as I can. That is my purpose. But when you talk about the soul has only one purpose. It is to recognize your true divinity. A soul, when you come in this mind, your body, right? We forget that we are the soul. We start living thinking that this is us, right? The body is me, the mind is me. So everything we take very personally, and we don't really cherish and enjoy the moments that we are here to enjoy. So the purpose of every human being is to realize that you're a soul and the qualities of a soul, and to really, really feel it like, as a soul, who am I? And so what is my purpose? And that is when you will feel like this oneness with everyone. Your ego will melt. Okay, your ego will just melt away because you realize you have the same power as I have. You have come for the same purpose as I have. It's just that you are not in awareness right now. You are living life from a very physical level. Okay, so for me as a spiritual person, as a human, this is my purpose, to realize who I am, that I'm the soul. And as a human, just living in this physical world, it is to experience so many things. My purpose is to just live my life, be happy, enjoy every moment, whatever comes, let it happen, let it just, like some days will be good, some days will be bad, and I'm here to experience all of that. And that is my purpose.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, just live your life to the fullest. That is purpose.
Absolutely. Like everything is, good things will happen, bad things will happen. We forget good things in 2 minutes, but bad things we hold on to for lifetime, and I don't understand why. So just like we let go of, the good things so easily, let us let go of the bad things even easier. Like let them just pass by. Happen. Okay, let's move on and let's try something new. Let's do something new. Let's move on in life, and and just remember that everything and everyone comes with their purpose, and everyone is doing what they are meant to do. And so just live your life, be happy. Relationships also, relationships honestly is the toughest to manage because everybody has free will. So this person might not understand where I'm coming from, and then it becomes very difficult to coexist, right?
Yeah.
No one realize that that's okay. That is the person, and that is their mindset. That is not who they are. That is who they think they are.
Yeah.
You need to be more compassionate towards everyone. So so much realization is very important.
So beautiful.
Thank you
You've
so
given
much.
so much insights on all the topics that we've touched today. And I said earlier, you explained so beautifully.
Yeah.
It was very easy to understand.
Thank you so much.
Where can our audience find the amazing work that you do?
So my Instagram account is Zen with Shweta, so you can follow me there. I am also starting a coaching program now very soon for those who are either spiritual seekers, healers, or intuitive workers, and they want to dig deeper into the meaning of their lives, because I meet a lot of healers, a lot of spiritual seekers, a lot of people who love, the concept of self-realization, or I am a seeker, I'm a spiritual seeker, and they keep saying I'm a spiritual seeker. And, they can't really find that peace within. They feel like they need to do something more. What next? Why is it not happening for me? So I really, really want to help these people to get more clarity on who we really are and how do we get there, and to understand all of this in a deeper level. I also want to teach certain healing modalities. I also want to teach tarot. So building a community right now where it's going to be like the umbrella will be spirituality, but there'll be many layers under that.
That are amazing. Wonderful. We will link all your description in the description box below. And thank you so much, Shweta. We had such an amazing time. I mean, we are ourselves going with so much takeaway from this conversation, and we could not thank you enough for taking your time and giving us so much knowledge today.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I've just been talking and talking and talking. I'm sure I must have deviated a little bit here and there, but if not, helps everyone who's watching this. I am honestly very, very happy to be able to give all this information.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And if this episode made you reflect, we would love if you could like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if you don't want to miss out, might as well press that bell icon. Until then, stay soothed. This is Sooth Sisters signing off.
Goodbye.